large men being pushed onto trolleys in any of these places. I don't understand that. But I'm not going to talk about morality. But
The answer to that is kill the experimenter.
It didn't work with Milgram.
Okay, so I believe it is profoundly immoral to work to make abortion illegal. Do you believe abortion can be a moral choice? Why or why not? What would be the basis for the claims that abortion is moral? And I think...
Yeah, I would disagree with what you're saying.
All right, well, I'd say that the morality of abortion is based on desires, like everything else is. If an act tends to fulfill a lot of desires, then it's good. If an act tends to thwart a lot of desires, it's bad. Now, there are a lot of desires at play with abortion, but I do think that when you have a case where the fetus does not yet have any desires, if there are no desires that the fetus has, and you only consider the desires of the rest of society, there are a lot of cases where abortion is moral, where it's better for everyone if someone gets an abortion.
Yeah, I agree with that. The way I would put it in my own situation is that you ought to be a compassionate person, because being compassionate has a galaxy of effects on your life. So that what you're talking about is the total effect on your life of being that sort of person. And I've talked about this a few times, and I talk about it much more in my book. Once you accept that premise, and that's where you have this idea of not killing people, it comes from that basic premise. Compassion is the idea of empathy. You're having empathy with an actual person who feels and experiences things. I mean, a fetus that doesn't have a brain isn't such a person. So you can't really have compassion for a clump of cells in that respect. Now, when you're talking about a fetus or a baby that achieves like third trimester, where there actually is a working brain in there, then you're talking about a different scenario. And so I actually have argued that third trimester abortion, except in cases to save the life of the mother, which is straightforward self-defense, third trimester abortion is immoral, but pre-third trimester abortion is not. So I take an unusual attack on that respect. But anyway, we can debate these issues, but they all have to come down to that. They have to come down to that issue of who's being harmed. I mean, who is there to be harmed, and why should we care about that? And once you ask those two questions, that's where the debate proceeds. And the problem with the abortion debate is that those two questions are ignored usually.